Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Another edition of It's Still Real to Me. Of course, everything Zaslow Show 2.0, including our pro wrestling show, It's Still Real to Me, is brought to us by our title sponsor, Anajar and Levine, Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. If you're involved in any kind of an accident, hit and run, motorcycle, slip and fall, you call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. They're going to get you on your feet. You're going to focus on your health. They're going to get you the compensation that you deserve. Let them put their skills to work for you. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys, 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. Glad to have you guys aboard. It is a Monday evening. We're about an hour away from... what are we talking about? 3 more Monday Night Raws? Two, three. I think 3 more Monday Night Raws until WrestleMania XL. Our pal, of course, here on It's Still Real to Me is Joey Levin. Joey, how are you this evening? Hello?
I'm good. Glad to have you back, and a big trip to New York. It's good to get a full Zaslow and Joey. It's Still Real to Me.
That's right. So what did you do when I was in New York last week? You did an immediate reaction show to Big Business.
Yes.
When I was in New York. I was away for a few days, and you did immediate reaction to Big Business. How did that go? We'll certainly talk a little bit about that tonight.
I think it went well. I will say, we're going to talk about it. The show itself was, I thought, a really good AEW show. I think the numbers for that show, and maybe even the numbers for the reaction, but I will say this: we'll talk about the ratings, we'll talk about social, and I think maybe the Mercedes Moné instant reaction compared to some other instant reactions didn't do quite as well. So I think maybe that might be an indicator of some things, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Now look, this is a really big sports week too. Obviously, we're going to have all kinds of odds. We can make that money from WrestleMania XL, but the tournament's here. All right. And Bet Online is your bracket headquarters this season with the best bracket contest out there. All the odds, lines, info on every game and every round right up until the national championship. Head to Bet Online today. Get in on all the action. Remember to use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, and you'll get your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. So we got a fun show tonight. We'll do a little preview of Monday Night Raw here. We got a few things to get to as far as SmackDown. We got the Rock concert, so we had that. We're going to talk about Mercedes Moné's debut.
My guy Victor's in the chat already saying we didn't need to. That didn't need an instant reaction. Mercedes Moné didn't need an instant reaction.
How about that?
I'll tell you what did, bruv. We'll get to that too. That needed an instant. That was instant reaction worthy itself.
Yeah, you're on Will Ospreay's tip these days.
All over it.
I think he deserves it.
He does. But yeah, we'll get to that.
So first, though, let's start out. Oh, by the way, so we got a couple things to get to here before we get into the meat of the show. First up, so last week I was in New York. I was at a sports media summit, and there's all kinds of different panels and speakers talking about sports media. One of the panels, Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was one of the speakers. It was great. So he comes out. They play Roman Reigns' theme song. And Paul Heyman comes out. One guy in the theater slowly raises his finger as Paul Heyman's walking out. He was a talk show host from some mid-market sports station. And so by the way, Paul Heyman was phenomenal. Not in character whatsoever. He was just Paul Heyman, who he runs I don't know if it's a law firm or a sports agency in New York City, but that was the Paul Heyman that we got. We got Paul Heyman, essentially the business.
Yeah, if you watched his documentary on WWE Network from a couple years ago, he runs like a marketing PR.
Yeah. I thought it was a sports agency, but it's probably a PR marketing firm. That makes more sense, actually.
Yeah. It worked on like video games and like ad campaigns and all kinds of shit.
Yeah. So he was one of the speakers. He was phenomenal. Spoke for about 35 minutes, Q&A, and it was great because they showed a bunch of clips, throughout his career and had him comment on it and whatnot. And one of the takeaways, which I thought was super interesting, he told us how Roman Reigns' character right now, the tribal chief, that it is based off of, influenced by Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now.
Interesting.
Which I thought was really interesting that they took that character in Apocalypse Now and kind of loosely based, the whole acknowledge me, I'm in charge here, but I also detest all of you. That it was taken from that character, which I don't think anyone has ever mentioned before. So I thought that was really cool, but he was phenomenal. I loved it. I don't know if everyone else I think everyone else probably thought it was cool because I would imagine the majority of the people in there like me were not pro wrestling fans, but he was fantastic. So that's where I was last. I didn't go there for Paul Heyman. That was just an added benefit of me being there. So anyway, I got to see that last week. He was fantastic. Last night, though, Joey, I was at BRCW, Boca Raton Championship Wrestling. And of course, one of our great sponsors here for It's Still Real to Me is our pal Matthew H. Mashler, your trusted real estate broker, Real Estate Finder, signature Real Estate Finder. You can go to realestatefinder.com. You see on the bottom of the screen right there. You can call them now with any of your real estate needs, 561-208-3334. So I was at BRCW last night. Me and my son Jordan, we went there. It was a lot of fun. And, they do. Brutus the Barber Beefcake is the commissioner of BRCW. It was one match.
I don't think I realized he was still alive.
Brudai comes out. And he had to give a match stipulation at one point. But Tyler Breeze was there. QT Marshall was supposed to wrestle because he's part of CCW, but I think he's got some injury he's dealing with right now, and he wasn't medically cleared to perform. So that was fun, But also, I do want to announce him. I got a little bit of an announce to make here, Joey. How about this? Yeah, I got a little bit of an announce here. So you know how CCW Coastal Championship Wrestling. You and I have been to their shows before. We've been to Bash at the Brew. They got
I almost dropped a whole stack of kegs in the middle of the show.
Oh, my God. Yeah, for people who don't know, when they do Bash at the Brew, which is that unbranded brewery, great spot in Hialeah, the setup is
basically, yeah.
Well, but the whole setup is in the brewery where they make all the beers, with all the huge tanks. And the entrance, it's a bunch of kegs that are, lined up next to the
they're lined up and also stacked like 3 high.
Yeah. And Joey almost knocked them all over in the middle of the show.
I leaned on them thinking they were full, I guess, or whatever, and they started tipping, and I caught it with one hand and just sort of stood there until a guy in the crowd saw that I was about to drop all these kegs
and ruin the
luckily
show.
Came over and saved me. It would have been terrible.
Oh, and also, Gangrel wrestled last night. It's always fun seeing Gangrel. He won the Vampire Warrior. I got some breaking news as far as CCW goes. And I know a lot of our listeners, and by the way, if you're watching the show right now live, love that. Make sure you're signed up for everything on the YouTube channel. You got your notifications on, all of that whole deal. But you could comment, you can question, and this way you can be part of the show. If you're listening on the podcast, that's after the fact, but that's also awesome. So anyway, Victor, I know a lot of people. By the way,
also, no, I didn't. I might have killed him, but Zaslow just said he said Victor asked if I just killed Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and
no, Brudai's alive. You did not kill him.
Zaslow confirmed I did not kill him. I thought I killed him. I don't know.
He is alive. So anyway, we love those guys at CCW, and I know a lot of our listeners are fans of CCW because let me tell you something. I don't go anywhere where I get recognized more than when we go to CCW shows. It's great. They got a great fan base there. So I got some breaking news for CCW. How about this? CCW, they've already announced Matt Riddle, Gangrel, Brian Cage, who's a CCW alum, and more for their 20th anniversary coming up in Port St. Lucie. Now, I've been told a huge return for CCW. And how about this? AEW superstar and wrestling legend, Billy Gunn.
Wow.
That's right. Billy Gunn, AEW star, Mr. Ass, Billy Gunn. He's going to be there 20th anniversary in Port St. Lucie. So how about that? If you're looking for that local wrestling show, Port St. Lucie, from where we are, that's 90 minutes, an hour, 45 minutes away. Not that far. But CCW 20th anniversary show in Port St. Lucie. You're going to have Matt Riddle, Gangrel, Brian Cage. Billy Gunn is going to be there as well. How about that?
I tell you what, Matt Riddle. I know Billy Gunn legend and all that, and that's huge. And actually, he is still a trios champion. Matt Riddle is the New Japan television champion. Like that's a big deal to have a champion from a singles champion from a major company. Is he going to defend the New Japan TV title at CCW?
Yeah,
that would be interesting. That would be cool.
All right, so let's do a little bit of a Monday Night Raw preview here. We have, I guess, the main event, last woman standing, Nia Jax, Becky Lynch. This is the big blow up for the feud, right? Sure. That's what last man standing has to be, right? Becky won the last matchup. Nia Jax won the one before that. So this is kind of the rubber match. Is there any way Nia Jax wins this one?
No. You can't have Becky lose this match 3 weeks before Mania.
Right. Good point.
No, that just can't happen. And Nia has nothing at Mania, as far as I know right now, unless they're going to do like a women's Andre the Giant type of thing.
Which she can easily win.
Well, of course. But as of right now, she has nothing for Mania, so there's no reason for her to win right now.
Okay. What else do we have coming up for Raw tonight? I know we got the IC title is going to be...
Oh, you know what?
Contract is going to be signed for that one.
Yeah, and also, I guess they're going to update... I think Asuka got hurt on Friday.
You know what? She 100% got hurt. I saw it when I was watching it with my son. I said, look, Asuka is hurt. She was limping around very bad at the end where they were holding up Bailey and doing moves. Asuka is 1,000% hurt. Yeah, I hope that's not a long-term thing.
Yeah.
You're right.
Well, I don't know if they're going to update it, but I thought I saw something about that. DIY versus the Creed Brothers, Alpha Academy versus New Day, both qualifiers for the ladder match, the contract signing. Oh, and Miz and R-Truth versus Indus Sher. So 3 qualifier matches.
Okay, now, so then this ladder
DIY
match
versus the Creed Brothers is really interesting. That's an interesting one because I thought they were pushing the Creed Brothers. The Creed Brothers were winning a bunch of TV matches, but you got to think DIY is going to be in that match.
Okay, but what are we leading toward here? So the ladder match is going to be before WrestleMania, right?
No, it's at Mania. No, it's not Mania.
Okay, so it's for the tag team titles. The tag team titles will be on the line.
It's Finn a ladder Balor, match for the titles,
Priest. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, very good.
It's Miz and it is basically it's for whatever reason they don't want to give Miz and R-Truth the match by themselves.
Oh, it's a way to get the titles off Judgment Day and not have them get pinned, you know?
Right, but Miz and R-Truth are winning that match. There's nobody in that match that's getting that. There's no one in that match that's going to be in that match that's getting that win over Miz and R-Truth.
What else do we have tonight?
They deserve it too. Like I hope they get it, and even if they lose it like the next week, hopefully they get that moment.
Yeah, I mean, R-Truth is red hot right now. The crowd would love it. It'd be a really cool moment. Yeah. What else do we got tonight?
We have the matches that I meant the qualifier matches.
Yeah, just whatever they've announced, you know.
Oh, I just read them off. I might have cut out there for a second because I was just reading them off. Give me one sec. I'm pulling it back up. There's 3 qualifier matches for the tag title for the ladder match, the contract signing, and the Becky and Nia Jax match.
Okay, all right. And in some capacity, we're gonna get Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, usual suspects. All right, very good. So that's coming up tonight at 8:00. Obviously, let's start with this past Friday night. The Rock concert. So we got it. Like we all expected, like we all hoped. In Memphis, we got the Rock concert. Is it the final? I know it's final advertised. Is that the last time we're seeing the Rock until WrestleMania?
As far as I know, I would think, I would imagine the SmackDown before WrestleMania. Because they'll
in Philadelphia.
It's in Philly, so the night before, I'm sure we'll get something.
Yeah.
And which I'm sure we're obviously about to get into. He's doing he drops another promo on his social every week now. So we'll get that too.
Yep.
Yep.
So I loved the Rock concert, and I especially loved that they made it a little different. Now, I don't know those 2 blokes who were standing on the announce table. One homeboy had the guitar and the other guy,
the guy, I forgot his name, but the black dude is from the Warren Treaty. Great group. It's I think it's like a husband-wife duo. They're like country blues type deal.
You know, I do know who they are, actually. I do
The
know
Warren
they are
Treaty.
actually.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I remember who the other guy was, but I remember the guy from Warren Treaty.
But I liked how they mixed it up this year. So they were on the instruments and The Rock was able to just focus on the vocals. Because, of course, the original Rock concert, he was on guitar in the ring by himself. So I dug it. Song was funny as hell. Even took a shot at John Morant. That was great. The crowd didn't even get on him too much for that. Your thoughts on the Rock concert? I loved it.
The concert part was fun. The promo. Well, do you want my overall thoughts on the whole segment or just the concert part?
Well, what else happened during the segment? What else did they do?
Well, he cut the promo on Cody after about.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought that was. I thought it was terrible. It was literally after the concert, after he stopped singing, every word he said from that moment on was word for word. Even like the clips that he threw to the promo that he dropped on his Twitter earlier that day, word for word. Like I'm pretty sure it was the exact same script. And he showed like, look at, you had your opportunity and what'd you do? You cried. Look at this. And then he threw it. It's exactly what he did on his Twitter. Cody's mom, I'm going to bloody him up with the belt. And then I'm going to bring you the belt. That is word for word what he dropped on Twitter earlier that day. It was a good promo on Twitter, but this is what we're getting now. The Rock's just going to cut promos on Twitter that he's cutting on SmackDown. I already saw it.
Well, you know, how about the idea, though? By the way, the email for Raw tonight just went out, and, you know, Cody Rhodes is responding to the Rock concert tonight. That's the headliner. He'll probably open the show with that. But isn't there something to how many times were you and I doing this show, and you would say to me, hey, did you see this past episode of Being the Elite? And I'm like, no, I never see Being the Elite. And then I'm not following along.
Being the Elite doesn't have 100 million followers or whatever.
I'm just saying, you know, maybe I don't have time during my day. Maybe I'm working. I don't have time during my day to be on social media and listen to a 20-minute promo.
Yeah, but the difference is that Being the Elite led to them becoming popular. Like they used Being the Elite to become more popular. The Rock is already popular and he's just double dipping. Like he's getting all these views on his social. To me, it's a little half-ass.
I just feel like it's like in radio where
the concert was good, but the promo, cutting the exact same promo that he dropped on his personal Twitter that he got millions of views on, is a little half-assed to me.
I just feel like it's a little bit like sports radio, where I can't assume that everybody who's listening right now heard what I said 2 hours ago. So sometimes you rehash the material.
Right. But he's been doing this thing where he drops the promo 6 hours before the show. This is the first time where he word for word just copied what he said on the promo on social. I don't have a problem with him doing it. I actually think it's a really cool concept that he does it. And obviously I'm sure we'll talk, he's getting some heat supposedly over it, but I think it's a cool concept that he does this. I just think it's a cop out. Like he did the exact same thing with the same production, the same clips, the same everything. It's like, come on, man. Like, why drop the one earlier? I already saw it.
Now, Joey, you never know what you can believe and what not to believe when it comes to the internet wrestling community and, you know, the stuff that's reported, what's legit and what's not. I have to put that out there. You have to take it with a grain of salt. But this idea that's out there, who the hell knows if it's true, that some stars backstage are upset at a double standard that The Rock gets as far as maybe language that's used, as far as maybe going over time, which, by the way, Brian Gewirtz, who of course is Rock's writer, Brian Gewirtz came out the other day. What's that?
Oh, no, I was going to say that guy is driving me nuts too. Like
really?
Remember I told you this when it first started, like when The Rock first came back, let us suspend some disbelief, Brian Gewirtz. We don't need to know that The Rock's personal writer knows every single thing that's going on.
Well, I agree with that.
He's tweeting after every show and every segment, like, oh, this is this, and then chapter 1, like, dude, like lay off. We don't care that you're his writer. Just let it play out.
Well, responding to one of those, you know,
right. He said he was 30 seconds under, right?
Yeah, that he's going long and it took time off the show, and he said he was actually 30 seconds under the allotted 20 minutes. Like that right there, I believe. And I think that's an example of you can't take all these reports as the gospel. But even if this is true, that there's a double standard because that The Rock is getting a double standard, I'll be like, shit, yeah, there's a double standard. He's the fucking Rock. Yeah, there's a double standard. He's going to be allowed to do things and should be allowed to do things that whoever else backstage isn't doing. It's WrestleMania season. He's the biggest movie star in the world. Yes, and he's one of the all-time biggest stars in the history of professional wrestling. You know what? Yep, there is a double standard.
Yeah, well, I agree 100%. He's earned, I think, the right to have a double standard. The overrun thing, who cares? Like he doesn't like, but
like who do they actually take time away from because The Rock went over?
But I will say, in fairness to, if there's truth to this, if I was playing devil's advocate for the people who are mad about the cursing, I could see where a WWE superstar who's in the back, who wants opportunity, is looking at it like, well, if I was allowed to just go out and say whatever I wanted, then maybe I'd be more popular. But I'm hamstrung by the constraints.
The only way that these guys can get over is if they start swearing. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, then why does The Rock have to swear?
Well, The Rock doesn't, but he's The Rock, and so he's going to do whatever he wants to do. But if you're backstage saying, man, if I was allowed to say shit and fuck, I'd be a whole lot more popular, you suck then. You suck then. If that's what you need to be popular.
I understand that, but I think the report was because they were saying that, like, well, specifically with Cody and Seth, I think it was Meltzer or LaGreca, one of those guys was essentially saying that Cody and Seth have been hamstrung anytime they go up against The Rock because The Rock can say whatever he wants and they have to be PG.
I don't buy it.
I don't disagree. I think The Rock should be able to say whatever he wants. I was saying if I was playing devil's advocate to somebody backstage, no one in WWE, even Roman Reigns, couldn't drop the promos that The Rock is dropping right now.
The only part I would be the part that I'd be concerned with, Joey, people watching, especially young men watching, it comes off as cool if The Rock is allowed to say fuck and he's allowed to say shit. And that I think you need to avoid The Rock coming off, even though he's a heel, you need to avoid him coming off as the cool guy. Like, he's supposed to be the heel, and we're supposed to root for Cody Rhodes.
Right.
But if people start to see The Rock as cooler than Cody Rhodes, because Cody Rhodes every other week is crying on my television in the middle of a wrestling ring, that crying's not so cool, Joey.
Right. But can I tie something together here? Because Victor said, you talking about the promo on Twitter, you saw it twice, but some only watched it once, some on Twitter, some on SmackDown.
Yeah, that's how I see it.
But, right. But you all know that The Rock is cursing. Where's he cursing? He's not cursing on SmackDown. He's cursing in his promos on social media. The Rock is one of the most followed people on the planet. Don't tell me everyone doesn't know about the promos that he's cutting on social media. This report isn't about people being mad at him cursing on SmackDown. He's not cursing on SmackDown. This off is where you can fuck thing that he's doing.
He's doing that a few times on SmackDown, though. He has.
But he's not doing the off is where you can go fuck or whatever, his new catchphrase.
Funny.
That's a social media thing. And it's a funny
off
catchphrase.
Off is the direction you could fuck, right?
Yeah, off is the direction. Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying, my point is everyone's seeing it. Everyone's seeing The Rock. The Rock's one of the most followed people on the world in social media. Everyone's seeing that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I guess to your point, yeah. Well, the crying part,
he's got to stop crying. Oh, you can't cry every week.
Cody Rhodes is the biggest star in that company, other than The Rock, obviously, when he's there, because he's Cody Rhodes. He just is. Nobody, there's very few guys that you come across that seem so genuine about the way I understand that everybody cares about the industry, but man, it's like his story it's different than everybody else's. Not everybody in that company's dad was one of the biggest stars in the history of the business and died at a young age before he could, even see him succeed. It's an emotional story.
Though, Joey. Crying's not cool.
I'll tell you what, it's cool enough that Cody Rhodes is the most popular guy in that company and is
But what
main
I'm
eventing
saying is
WrestleMania.
I don't want it to get to a place where that starts to change because maybe he's not that cool anymore. I mean, shit, Cody was so popular at the start in AEW, right? We know how that ended.
Yeah, but he almost did that to himself. But like he set himself up a little bit for failure by doing the whole thing at the beginning of AEW where if he lost, he could never challenge for the world title. And then he had to that was a mess. But like they're not always going to talk about his dad. Eventually, he has to finish the story. And then they're not going to talk about Dusty every single show. And then he's not going to cry every show. He cries when they talk about his family. It's like, it's part of it. But he's always been that way. And he's the most popular wrestler in the company.
He is.
And he's the face of the company. And by the way, he's winning at WrestleMania. I know you don't think so.
Nope.
He's winning at WrestleMania.
Nope.
He is winning at WrestleMania.
Nope. Not winning at WrestleMania, dude. You think Roman is getting this close to Hulk Hogan and they're not going to pull the trigger?
Yeah, I don't know. I got to tell you, I don't know that he's incredible. And like he's one of the best ever already. But I don't know if it's just me, but this WrestleMania season has really made me reevaluate how much of a star he is in the grand scheme of things. Like he is a massive WWE star, but like Cody and The Rock have completely overshadowed Roman Reigns leading into this WrestleMania. So it's like I think it would be fair for him to not beat Hogan's record. I don't know that I don't know that it makes this thing that much better if he beats Hogan's record. I think he's not going to become more famous from it. It's not going to make him a bigger star. It's just going to make him have the record.
I just think they get to have Roman's name. And I know also there's Bruno Sammartino, but they get to have Roman's name all the way at the top. The same way, it took New Day a very long time, but they wanted them to get past Demolition. So you got a modern day team up top there. It took Gunther a long time. They got him past Honky Tonk. They want a modern day guy atop that IC title. And I think they want a modern guy atop the WWE Championship. Yeah, and they're so close.
How far is he from it?
It would have to be late this year.
He could break it this year.
He could break Hogan this year. Yeah.
I was trying to find the exact numbers, but
it's close.
It would have to be like another. Hogan is 1474, and Roman would be like a little over 1300 if he loses at Mania. I think,
dude. That's if he. Okay, so it's another 6 months. It's close, man.
Yeah,
it's close.
Yeah, it is possible, but I don't think he needs it necessarily.
No, I know it. No, I think WWE needs it more. I think WWE wants the modern names atop these lists. I think it's a WWE thing. I don't think it's a Roman thing. Anyway, tell me, The Rock, he keeps saying this. What does this mean? When The Rock I love how there's multiple tentacles where, you got The Rock and Roman deal. You got Roman Cody. You got The Rock and Cody. You got The Rock and Seth Rollins. And also, you probably have Seth Rollins and Cody, and if something's going to wind up. There's so many tentacles that are going every which way. What does The Rock mean where he keeps telling Seth Rollins, and this was one of the lyrics in the Rock concert. He keeps telling Seth Rollins, I'm going to make your title go away. What does he mean by that? He keeps saying that.
Well, my initial thought when we talked about the tag match was one of the initial ideas I had in my mind was Cody and Seth win. And because the bloodline can't be involved in the main event, The Rock causes Seth to lose his title. Like he sends the bloodline out to cause Drew to beat Seth.
I mean, I do think in some fashion that's what is going to happen. This way, maybe it helps Seth stay looking strong, that it wasn't his fault that he lost the title. But like that's where we're headed, right? Rock is going to make some type of interference where that's what's going to because we both agree Seth is 1,000% losing that title to Drew McIntyre. And then it keeps the story going with Drew McIntyre being a huge hypocrite because it's now the bloodline that keeps helping him.
Yeah. I also think it potentially, it sets up obviously Rock and Seth at some point. I also think it starts to sow the seeds of Rock and Roman dissension because The Rock made the decision. The Rock becomes the one who made the decision to interfere in the Seth match, and The Rock's not the tribal chief.
You know what I also think is interesting is how The Rock keeps referring to himself as the final boss.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wouldn't the tribal chief be the final boss?
Yeah, I think it's just a heel thing. He also keeps saying that wrestling is the hottest it's been in a decade because he's back, but that's obviously not true, right? Like it's
but I mean, aren't these seeds to plant against Roman Reigns getting jealous?
Yeah, or is it that he's the final boss to break Hogan's record?
Oh, maybe
event like at SummerSlam, like you got to beat the final boss to break. You want that record, you got to beat the final boss.
Yeah, maybe. It's kind of cool
know.
if that's what they're doing.
I also just think a lot of the shit that The Rock is saying right now is because he's trying to be the biggest.
No, but the final boss is like a good name for a big time heel.
I know, but he's just saying so much shit now that to just be the biggest asshole. You don't know when he's trying to like send a message and when he's just trying to like straight up piss everyone off, right? Yeah. Like him repeating a promo word for word 6 hours apart could just be a heel move where he knows that people like me will get mad that he did that and make it me not like it. Because I'm just like, but they could just be thinking that to that level. I don't know.
All right, let's keep it moving here. Like I told you guys earlier, one of our great sponsors, one of the co-founders, chairman of BRCW, Boca Raton Championship Wrestling, my guy Matthew H. Mashler. He's your trusted real estate broker, signature real estate finder. If you're looking to buy a new home anywhere in South Florida, you can call Matthew today, 561-208-3334, or go to realestatefinder.com. If you're looking to sell one of your properties, you call Matthew today, 561-208-3334, realestatefinder.com. Maybe you're already in the business. If you're looking to take your real estate career to the next level, Matthew's always looking to add to his team. You could join the Signature team. The Signature real estate companies are South Florida's industry leaders, ranked number one in all of Boca, one of the tops in the state of Florida. So whether you're buying your dream home, selling a property, or you're just looking to join the best in the business, contact Matthew H. Mashler today, 561-208-3334, realestatefinder.com. Matthew H. Mashler, your pathway to exceptional real estate experiences.
Carlos E. agrees with you. Roman, 100%. Modern day wrestler breaking the record. Yeah. He also really wants to know what the L is. Carlos,
I don't think it's anything.
It's nothing. Actually, this week he did like this. Like his thumb was up. It wasn't even an
I think
L,
his thumb is just fucked up and like maybe he can't bend it that way, you know?
I think that's
what injury, wrestling injury.
I think it's 100%. But can I ask you something actually on that? We've seen like a few times that Heyman does not like The Rock.
I told you that, yes.
Right?
He doesn't trust him.
And they have not interacted at all. Like The Rock has not interacted with Heyman at all. Isn't that a little weird?
Yeah, this is why I love this, man, because it feels like we're back in a place with the bloodline where there are so many interesting tentacles. And we've lost that. I feel like there was like an 8-10 month period where we kind of lost that. And I think we're back now. I think there's so many things out there that make the story really interesting again. I mean, I think it was Jimmy Uso who said recently that there are new members of the bloodline who are about to join WWE and that this story can go on for another few years.
Jimmy said that?
Yeah, he was.
Well, there are two.
He did.
Well, Zilla Fatu is Solo's brother. Is another brother.
Yep.
And then Jacob Fatu is part of the family somehow. And if you haven't seen Jacob Fatu fight in MLW or on the Indies, he is an absolute freak. Like if you bring him in, Solo is not the enforcer anymore. Jacob Fatu is the enforcer. That guy.
Solo never wins matches. Solo can't be the enforcer anymore. He never wins matches.
He also doesn't have matches. Anymore. He also just doesn't have matches.
Well, but also in house shows, he never wins house shows either. I see some of the results. He never wins anymore.
Yeah, it's weird, and he has nothing at Mania.
It's ever since he beat Cena in, I guess it was in Saudi. I don't think he's won a match.
You would think by now he would be at least have a match at Mania, but he has nothing. Yeah.
All right, let's keep it moving here. So we know triple threat for the U.S. title. That happened the other day. Logan Paul, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens. I think we both agree, like, Logan Paul's still leaving with that U.S. title, right?
Yeah, he's minus 400 on Bet Online. So
okay. There you go.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I mean, it would make sense for either of those guys.
No reason for Orton to win it. And
Owens has had it.
Yeah, it just makes too much sense for Logan Paul to continue. Logan Paul's showing up to UFC sitting next to Mr. Beast, and he's rocking the U.S. title. Like, come on. It's a good move with him having that belt. So how about this? The gauntlet match last Monday night. Sami Zayn wins. I told you, I liked Sami Zayn. You liked Chad Gable. Sami Zayn wins. But Sami Zayn getting all up in his feelings afterward with the reaction?
I don't know how, but first of all, did he actually get in his feelings, or was this, you're talking about Booker T, right? Saying on his show that he talked to Sami and Sami was disappointed that the fans.
Yeah.
I just wonder how much of this is part of this Sami Zayn, like gimmick that's going on, where he's like kind of down on himself and he's got to prove himself again. Like,
I don't know. I feel like winning that gauntlet is proving yourself.
Right. No, I'm talking about him potentially being disappointed that that there was backlash. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, we'll find out more tonight.
I'm going to tell you what. Sami Zayn's great. He deserves backlash. It was a great match. This is Chad Gable's moment. This is Chad Gable's feud. The Gunther Chad Gable thing.
Why'd they have Sami Zayn win it?
Because it's WrestleMania 40 and they're trying to get all the biggest names in the company on the card. Why are LA Knight and
Sami's bigger?
Why are LA Knight and AJ Styles having a WrestleMania match? It's a fun match. It doesn't need to
be.
But
that's been going on since Royal Rumble. I know.
But again, it doesn't need to be on Mania. But they're two of the biggest stars in the company. It doesn't necessarily
I disagree. I disagree. You got 2 nights of Mania. You got to put together 2 great nights. There's room between 2 nights for AJ Styles to have a singles match with LA Knight. I disagree, dude.
But it doesn't need to be. I mean, they've been doing like less time each in all of their shows. They've been doing less time each night. I'm just saying, if this was just like any other pay-per-view, if it was any other year, they may not be on it. But it's what I've been talking about this whole time. They want all the biggest stars in the company to be on this card because it's WrestleMania 40. So that's to me why they put Sami instead of Chad Gable, because the backlash is the internet wrestling fans. It's not like the WWE Universe, like kids and stuff like that. They like Sami still. They're all going to go crazy for Sami. It's the wrestling nerds.
Sami, man. I knew it was going to be Sami.
But
is there any way tonight? Is there any way tonight? They're doing the contract signing. Is there any way tonight they shoehorn Chad Gable into the match?
I don't know. He did a backstage thing where he said, "I'm not going to complain. I'm not disputing it. I lost that. It is what it is." So
right.
I don't know. I know a lot of people think that they're going to add him, and a lot of people are pushing for it. And I wouldn't care. I mean, it is what I don't. It doesn't really matter. I don't. Let me put it this way. I don't think there's any way Sami Zayn's beating Gunther. So
I think he is.
And so I've talked about this all the time. I like to not know what's going to happen. Gunther's beating Sami Zayn. You put Chad Gable in that match. Now we got something. Maybe Chad Gable wins that match.
I hope they do not put Chad Gable into the match, because if Gunther's going to lose the title, it better be to him getting pinned. That's going to be some bullshit. If it's a 3-way and Gunther does not get pinned, I am not here for that. When he loses, he needs to get pinned. Yep, he needs to get pinned. So, all right, let's do it. You got anything else for WWE? Otherwise, I was going
to pull the odds up. Yeah, you move on. I was just going to pull up the odds real quick and see if Gunther's the favorite over Sami.
Interesting. Okay, so this past Wednesday night, man, I didn't get to see all of Dynamite, but I made sure I went back, because I was in New York, and I made sure I went back and I watched Mercedes Monet's debut. I always it's one of the things I like with AEW, where they debut new stars like that, and they do it right at the top of the show.
Gunther minus 500 over Sami.
I mean, that's a big favorite.
That is a big favorite.
It's a very big favorite. I disagree. Maybe I'll be putting a little money on Sami Zayn.
All right.
How about that? So I went back and I watched. It's one of the things I like that AEW does, where they kick off the show with the debut, like they did CM Punk, Mercedes Moné. Now, you know how I feel about Mercedes Moné. I think she believes she's a much bigger star than she actually is.
And obviously AEW does too, because the report came out today that she is now the highest paid women's wrestler of all time.
Wow. I think she's a great wrestler. I think she's a great heel. So obviously she has come out in AEW as a babyface, which is not interesting to me.
For now.
And I just, she doesn't move the needle though for me. I think she thinks she's Charlotte Flair. She's not Charlotte Flair. She's not even Becky Lynch. I think she's a lot. I think she thinks she's a lot bigger than she actually is. Now, with that said, we're gonna find out because we didn't really get to find out with a very short run in NJPW. She debuted. It was very so-so, and then she got hurt the next match, and Willow went over.
Well, she won the IWGP title. She beat Kyrie, and then she didn't keep it very long. She kept it for like 60 days, lost it. Then they created a brand new title for her, which she then lost. Then she got hurt against Willow. And
right.
That's what happened. But she did win. I mean, her run was still short, very short.
Mm-hmm.
But she did beat Kyrie for the IWGP Championship. But it didn't raise her stock at all the way I think she thought.
Right.
It would.
We have not been able to tell yet what her drawing power is. Now, what we're going to find out now. All right. Now, you looked at that crowd there the other night. A lot has been made of AEW over the last couple of years. Very small crowds. I think they're playing houses that are way too big for them. That TD Garden in Boston was jam-packed. It was a monster crowd for her that night. But
hometown.
Would her debut if that show was in St. Louis? Are you getting that crowd for Mercedes Moné? My guess is no. You know, are you in Houston? Are you getting that crowd? My guess is no. They were in Boston. They were in Boston, and they promoted it for a month and a half, 2 months leading up to it. So great crowd. We're gonna find out if AEW, like this coming week, she's not fighting, but they've announced she's on the show and she's gonna be speaking. What kind of crowd we're gonna have this Wednesday? Let's see. You know?
Yeah, I think. Look, I think I saw the rating didn't do that well, which I don't put a whole lot of stock into now because TV ratings don't really mean a lot. I saw another thing. I think it was low, like as a social clip, it was lower watched than like Okada's debut and Ospreay's debut and like those type of things.
I don't think she's a big draw. Look,
and I said this on the reaction show, and I also have said this before on here. Her star power was her proximity to WWE. She is like you said, incredible in-ring wrestler. But like I said on the reaction show, look at her dance partners in WWE. When you're wrestling against Bayley, Iron Woman match, when you're wrestling in the main event of WrestleMania against Bianca, when you're wrestling Charlotte, when you're wrestling Becky, that's huge. AEW has been horrendous at booking their women's division. If Toni Storm doesn't out of nowhere come up with this gimmick that she's got going on right now, I mean, the whole thing is a complete failure. Look at the perfect example is look what they have Saraya doing right now. Saraya is on Friday Night Rampage in the middle of a storyline where her brother and they're trying to break.
They're doing something with Ruby Soho, right?
And Angelo and Cool Hand Ange, where they're trying to break them up, and then Saraya's brother's yelling into the camera, and it's like, wasn't Saraya just like one of the main events of Wembley? Like, so, and now they're not the same because Saraya we never thought was going to wrestle again. But my point is, it's going to be all up to AEW out on how much she succeeds. They're going to have to do some really strong booking because if not. And again, another example, if they don't book her really strong and really well right out of the gate, she's just going to be Adam Copeland. Because look at Adam Copeland right now.
Oh, I don't even know what he's doing.
Exactly. He's bringing out a spike and he's naming it and saying he's got a weapon and he's going to hurt Christian with it. It's like, and I mean, remember when Edge debuted in AEW, we were like, this is one of the craziest things we've seen because we thought Edge would never not be in WWE. It was massive. And now he's just nothing. He's like irrelevant. And that's my concern with with Mercedes Moné, that if they don't book her right, like what I was hoping, and I just don't know when she's coming back. What I was hoping was at the end of the show, Jamie Hayter came back or Britt Baker came back.
Even Britt Baker, Yeah.
Right. But one of them come back and set up something big right off the bat. Just set up something huge. This thing, like, if her first feud's going to be with Julia Hart, sorry. I love Julia Hart, but she's 21 years old and she has a long way to go to be a superstar. That's not going to put people tuning in to watch Mercedes Moné.
Right. Can Mercedes Moné put on great matches against a lot of these women who are kind of green? She's not Bret Hart. Bret Hart, you put in the ring against anyone, he's going to make you look like $1 million.
But I don't even know that that's the concern. The matches can be great, but does anyone care? And I don't think they're going to care if Mercedes Moné is fighting Julia Hart or Willow Nightingale. And I like Willow, and there's a story there because of what happened in New Japan. But most people don't know that story. Like, unless you listen to a podcast where somebody recaps her whole career in New Japan, do you know that she broke her ankle against Willow? Probably not. And we've talked about this plenty. AEW does a horrible job of resetting the history of why we should care about their matches.
They like assuming that you know. Yeah.
Right. So it's just going to be, and she's not a good promo, unfortunately for her. She's just always been shaky on the mic. And I'll give her the benefit of the doubt that in the debut, she's a little nervous. It's her hometown. It's been a long time. But she's never been a great promo. She's, like you said, certainly a much better heel promo. And her gimmick lends itself to being a heel. Like, CEO is not a face gimmick.
Right. No one wants to root for the CEO of anything.
Right. But I will say, the one thing she does have, she's got the chant, CEO.
Yep. Very smart.
CEO.
Very
That's
smart.
You got that right off the bat. The crowd is super into that chant.
That was very smart.
She got good music. They're chanting along with it. So that's a good start. Yeah. But AEW has a bad track record with keeping momentum, unless you have a supremely gifted talent who can keep the momentum themselves.
Will Ospreay, you're on his tip, man. So what's the latest with you were reading some stuff that maybe WWE lowballed Will Ospreay?
Yeah, that was all the reports coming out is saying that Triple H just didn't give him a really big offer because they just didn't think necessarily that he had this in him that we're seeing right now. So I don't know how true that is either. But
right. So let me ask you something. Is it like Triple H didn't give him a big enough offer? Does Triple H have full say in the finances for WWE? Like we say Triple H didn't make him a big enough offer. It's not his money, Is it possible that Triple H really wants Will Ospreay? And, he tries to convince the higher ups and they're like, we don't know who the fuck this guy is who you're telling us to pay millions of dollars to. Like, I know we're saying Triple H lowballed him. I don't know that Triple H has an unlimited, finance that he could just bring in whoever he wants.
And in fairness to Triple H, if he does have that kind of power, my instinct tells me that until this past Wednesday, the majority of wrestling fans did not know that Will Ospreay had what Will Ospreay did this past Wednesday. Like, everyone knows that he's Kenny Omega, but younger and more athletic.
He's really great, man.
That's always been his thing. Like, in ring, you can't beat him. Like, he's the guy. But I don't think that promo he cut last Wednesday, I had goosebumps. Like, I was like, holy shit, he is the guy. Like, he's got this in his bag. He is an absolute mega star.
Thank goodness AEW needs someone like that right now, man. Desperately.
Well, and this is the point. And I'll tell you what, as much as I could take or leave Mercedes Moné, and that whole show last Wednesday was built around Mercedes Moné, after their debut, they went back to back to back to back segments where they really highlighted how strong this roster is right now at the top. Like, the second match of the night was the title match, and Swerve comes out after. Swerve, absolute superstar. 100% superstar.
Yep.
Then the next match was Okada. It was the Bucks with Okada versus Pac and Eddie Kingston.
I didn't see this.
Okada, absolute superstar. Like, the guy just has the aura about him. He is a star. And he's going to be at the top of that company. Then you get the Ospreay promo. Then you get Jay White beating Darby Allin and them turning on the Acclaimed. So they already broke up the Bang Bang Scissor Gang. But those four got Jay White, Ospreay, Okada, and Swerve. And then you can throw Hangman in there when he comes back. And then MJF's not even there. That show, I thought, highlighted where that company is right now in terms of momentum. They have a lot of momentum going. They have a lot of really top-level guys. They just got to keep it going. They go through these lulls where it's it feels like they got something going and then they blow it. And now maybe having a guy like Ospreay will help them because Ospreay's seemingly he's just so damn good. But I think AEW's got something really fun happening right now. When he said, let me tell you something. When Will Ospreay said, there's a saying, you all know it. Tony Khan knows it. The guys in the back know it because they've been saying it. Restore the feeling. I am the feeling, bruv. When he said that, I was like, oh, this guy. That's it. He's the guy. For me, he's the guy. And one thing I think, I don't know how much of these things, because no one else has pointed this out. But one thing to keep an eye on with him is I don't know if he always ends his promos saying I'm on another level or if this is a new thing, but keep an eye on that because nobody's the level of the devil.
Okay.
Nobody is the level of the devil. So when MJF comes back, there's a natural boom. If Ospreay's running around saying he's on another level, nobody's on the level of the devil.
All right, that's interesting. Okay.
So that was as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh shit, Ospreay MJF, give it to me. I want it.
All right. Good job, Joey. We had a lot of good stuff tonight, man. We want to get out of here so we can put on Raw. I got the Heat game going on at the same time, so we got big sports here in the Zaslow Mansion tonight. Again, today's show brought to us in part by Bet Online. Always thank you to Anna Jar and Levine Accident Attorneys, our title sponsor of Everything Zaslow Show 2.0. And of course, Signature Real Estate Finder, Matthew H. Mashler, your trusted real estate broker, BRCW Wrestling. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, I had a little bit of breaking news there. How about that with CCW? Coastal Championship Wrestling, their 20th anniversary in Port St. Lucie. They've already announced Matt Riddle, Brian Cage are going to be there. And I announced Billy Gunn. AEW star Billy Gunn will be there at the 20th anniversary in Port St. Lucie of CCW Coastal Championship Wrestling.
AEW Trios champion Billy Gunn.
That's right.
No, wait, is he Ring of Honor? Yeah, they are AEW Trios champion.
There you go, man. I can't keep track. It's a million belts. Joey, tell all your fans you'll talk to them next week. Go ahead.
We'll talk to you guys next week. Hey, shout out to all the chat was buzzing today. We trying to do a quick show so we can get on to Raw, but keep doing it. We'll get to as many of the comments as we can next time. We just trying to get through everything so we can get you guys out of here for Raw. But appreciate you guys. Keep doing it. We love it.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. All right. We love pro wrestling. We'll talk to you guys next week on another edition of It's Still Real to Me. See ya.